Thank you. Good evening. Welcome to this public meeting of the Princeton Board of Education. The board is an elected, unpaid group of 10 citizens who set policy and make decisions on educational, financial, and personnel matters for the Princeton Public Schools on behalf of all residents. We are always pleased when members of the community attend our meetings. The board and the school district operate under applicable New Jersey laws and under regulations of the New Jersey State Board of Education. Each meeting includes an opportunity for those attending to comment on items on the published agenda or other matters of interest to them. The board reserves the right to limit the time allotted to public participation. The law limits discussion of individual personnel and confidential matters. We hope our meetings provide useful opportunities for communication between the board and the community. Thank you for attending.
As required under the Open Public Meetings Act, adequate notice was given for calling this meeting. It was authorized by the Board of Education and forwarded to the municipal clerk, Princeton Packet, and the Times on January 9th, 2025, and distributed to the schools and others on the standard distribution list. The board reserves the right to enter into executive session during all meetings of the Board of Education. Board Policy 0168, recording devices, requires that we inform those attending this in-person meeting that the proceedings are being recorded. This meeting is being live streamed. The representative of the sending district is authorized to vote on such matters that affect sending district students or affect the governance of the Princeton Public Schools, as more specifically designated in NJSA 18A 3881. Sending district votes pertaining to personnel actions refer to high school, central administrative, and district-wide staff only. Votes otherwise are considered abstentions. In the event that NJSA 18A 38-1 is amended, the law shall take precedence over this bylaw.
Thank you, Mr. Harris. Would you like to call the roll?
I would.
Thank you.
Daphne Kendall,
Here.
Beth Bayron, Adam Bierman,
Here.
Debbie Bronfeld,
Here.
Mara Franceschi,
Here.
Eleanor Hubbard,
Here.
Susan Cantor,
Here.
Ari Mizell,
Here.
Christopher Santarpio,
Here.
Catherine Lara.
Here.
We have quorum.
Thank you, Mr. Harris. Moving on now, can I get a motion for the adoption of the minutes from September 30th, 2025? Ari, second. Debbie? Yes.
Adam Bierman,
Yes.
Debbie Bronfeld,
Yes.
Mara Franceschi,
Yes.
Eleanor Hubbard,
Yes.
Susan Cantor,
Yes.
Ari Mizell,
Yes.
Christopher Santarpio,
Yes.
Catherine Lara.
Yes.
Motion carries.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Harris. So welcome to this meeting. It's October, the end of October already. Great things are happening in our schools, as Dr. LaSousa is going to share with us. So thanks for attending our meeting. I'll turn it over to you.
Thank you, Ms. Kendall. Happy October, almost Halloween. I know everyone's excited. So there are two substantial items under my report, and the first one is a student presentation, and I'm going to ask Ms. Baldeo to introduce some of our high schoolers.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Margarita Baldeo. I'm the Assistant Superintendent for Student Services. October is Disability Awareness Month, and I'm really excited and have the privilege of introducing some of our amazing students who participate in our School to Work transition program. So at this time, I'd like to present Richard, Ryan, and Mrs. B. If you can come up, and we'd love to hear from you.
Okay, well, thank you for having us this evening. We're very excited by this and at the same time, very honored that we get the opportunity to be able to speak in front of the board tonight. Our topic of discussion is basically our School to Work program. So there we go. Thank you. Basically, for those that don't know, School to Work is basically a partnership where we combine the school itself, job coaches, families, and community members. And we all work very closely to help out with getting our students ready for the next transition from the high school stage to future adulthood, I guess you could say. Basically, what we do with School to Work is we look for what are students interested in, what are they curious about, what do they like, what are they strong with, what do they struggle with, and we make students hold accountable for all of the above. So if there's something that we struggle with, we take ownership to that, and then we learn how to overcome and deal with our challenging situations. Basically, a lot of our opportunities are done through structured learning. We utilize community-based instruction, which is basically where we take our students out and we learn in the community. So our classroom, I like to say, is I have the biggest classroom in the whole school because I can use my community outside of my classroom as where we're also learning from. We develop what we call career awareness, and a lot of our students come in and of course they don't know what they want to do with the rest of their lives. So at that point, what we do is we expose them to many different careers. That's why I'm always reaching out, because if I were to say, everybody raise your hand, how many people are employed? Everybody's going to raise their hand in some respect. Do you know anybody that's employed? Everybody's going to raise their hand. So with that being said, we want to learn about what other people do. Students are getting acclimated and speaking with their families. What do their family members do? Because that becomes part of our networking. We utilize work-based learning for our students that generally are from 18 to 21. That age is basically set up so that students that continue to stay at our high school will be exposed to work situations, be able to apply their soft skills. And again, that's more internship. But the whole program deals with when they first enter all the way up till 21 years of age. And if a student leaves prior to that, that's fine also. We get them prepared so that they're ready for what is your next step, whether you're going to the workforce or whether you're going straight to a college type of program. So we are able to, just because we're called School to Work doesn't mean that we don't utilize the educational part. And this is a quick little breakdown. Year one, we introduce all of our students to what we call structured environments, where we explore the interests, the roles. We do a lot of role playing. We have a lot of fun, basically. And this is a little bit of what the boys are going to share, some of the activities that we do. But we do career exploration. We help work on critical thinking and trying to solve our problems. And even if we can't solve our problems, what do I do and where do I go to solve our problems? So, Ms. Baldeo, thank you for dealing with some of our emails this week, but some of our students had questions. So instead of me asking the question, I want them to learn how to write their own email and how to find their own answers out. And then I can help clarify if they're confused from that point. Year two, we work on what we call unpaid and paid internships. We allow the students the opportunity to basically, again, continue on from where they were in year one, but identify some career interests. And you start to see, you know what, I like this more than that. The whole time that students are in the program, we create what we call working portfolios. And this year, we're actually working on trying to devise some videos and trying to add that into our resumes and our portfolios and our IEP presentations. So year two, again, it goes into the interests. We'd still develop skills that might be needed for the areas of interest from the students while developing basically employability skills. So I work on 20 top soft skills that were given by the top employers and basically what they look for in a successful employee. So we take those skills and we apply it, and we will learn to, how do we problem solve? How do we work as a team member? How do we use our communication skills, etc. Year three and above, basically students will develop their workplace skills again, and they hone in even more. Each year it gets a little bit more and more challenging for them. We also start our community-based instruction and utilizing our structured learning environments. That will be more of our internships. So where students are placed at a site. For example, the university store in Princeton has been very kind with us. They have 2 sites. What we do is we take our students there that have that interest and we give them exposure to working there and what types of things do you face, and we work them through so that we can get to the point that after they leave us, they're ready to go. You can see the benefits of the program, skill development, and again, getting to know 16 different career clusters. If one person's interested in one thing, we don't omit that because I only have these 2 jobs. That means that I have to hustle a little bit and I need to get out and find whatever that student is interested in. We also have career exploration, which is good because, again, we're getting our names out there. People are starting to know us. It's just as important for community members to know us as it is for us to know them, because suddenly we get a really teamwork bonding developed. And I find that really exciting when we walk in and I see an employer's face like, okay, so how do we do this? And right away the kids show our community members the talents that they have. We build confidence. The fact that I have 2 you gentlemen here this evening, I am so excited. You have no idea, because this is what it's all about. I want them to stand up. I want them to share what their likes and needs and desires are, because what a great networking crew we have here. And then language development. This is very important to us because, again, somebody's not going to always follow us around and answer our questions. So we need to know how to use our language, how to be able to filter that and develop our communication skills along with problem solving. Okay. Also, again, we have the portfolios, mock interviews. We set up interviews for our students so that they can get practice with how do you interview. As you can see, our gentleman dressed up for the occasion. I actually I thought it was humorous, but one of my students actually told me I needed to snazz myself up a little bit more this evening. So I had to leave school to go home to snazz up a little bit. So I thought that was really good because they're taking note to those things. They're being very responsible and professional. So I like that. That's all a part of interviewing and understanding and being able to give each other feedback and accept it and be able to filter it right. So networking opportunities, I already pointed that out, but getting to know our community and what are our resources. If I like technology, where do I go in my community and how can that apply to what I like to do? And again, we have informed decisions where basically it's a team of individuals that are working together to make our students very successful. So moms, dads, community members, employers, teachers, all of the above, grandmom, grandpop, whoever happens to be a very close member for that student will help pull together. And at that point, we're team bonding because we're trying to get the students to where they want to be. We also do prioritize because, again, New Jersey, for funding purposes down the road, we need to understand that New Jersey prioritizes that employment is first. So our students can't leave us and just expect to go to leisure recreation. So employment is first, and then leisure recreation comes into play. So it's important that we develop these skills and make our students as strong as they can be. This slide basically represents some of the different breakdowns of what who participates on our team. We have students, obviously, and their job exposures, their sampling, their internships, along with assessments that we do. Students will take interest assessments. What are you interested in? We try and find that out, along with career awareness and understanding what careers are. Family members, we have history of family members, what types of employment in your families, what type of education in your families, what are family goals? That suddenly becomes a challenge with myself because sometimes I find a student will say one thing and a family will say another. So I have to be the middle, and we have to try and see if we can pull both together and see if at that time, usually what happens is when we start to experience it together and find that compromise, we can then see the path that the students really need to take. Again, with this, we have more like the academic connections in the real world. A lot of times people misinterpret our classroom and say that we don't include academics. I kind of beg to differ in the sense of we include, for example, we're working on what does a party planner do at school right now. We had to use our math because we decided on the menu, my cooks and my nutritionists have decided they want pizza. Well, there's 8 slices in a pizza. There's this many students. Let's apply it. How many pizzas do you need? If we order it and we order it wrong, we experience it. So obviously it's a hit and miss type of thing sometimes, but I work the students through. I could give them the answer and we'd be done, but I make them work for it. So history, where are we in our community? How do we get from here to there? How do we interact with community members of different cultures? Reading and writing, that's basically an ongoing thing every time we follow directions. Sometimes students will have job lists, and that allows them to be as independent as possible. And obviously self-care, domestic, social skills, they all come into play. When we monitor student growth, again, just as a classroom would do, we measure the students based on feedback. So I am required to attend all of the job sites and have interaction with employers and observe students as they work minimally once every 10 days. I meet with my staff every day. So we talk about that, and they're kind of under my umbrella of having structured learning certificate. But basically what we do is we problem solve. What are you exposed to? What are you doing? Where are your challenges? Let's come up with a plan. So student goals are important. I need to know where they're going and what they're looking at. I need to know data collection wise, my feedback and employers' feedback. And I always tell my kids, sometimes, this is the exception, the employer's feedback is more important than mine. And why? Because you're going to be placed in many different situations. And as we know, many different stores and units run very different. So if this employer says, I want it this way, it's the responsibility of the students to be able to adjust and be able to follow what that store or that business is applying. So again, there's a lot of data collection that's taken by the job coaches themselves and transferred into data for us in the classroom. And then we have evaluations, site evaluations that we do, head teacher evaluations, data collection again on individual specific goals that apply to different jobs. We've worked in many different locations. When we're in the classroom, we're constantly working on vocational skills, speech and language, social skills. Our OT and PT takes the time to come into our classroom to help with certain students that might need more of those skills. We also have life skills lessons. I work very closely with our autism, our MD teachers, and we make it as smooth as possible so that we can get skills that they're doing in classroom and apply it into my room and into the community setting. The benefit of some of what I do is that my job coaches are actually paraprofessionals. And I always tell them that they're the best paraprofessionals in the building. But, and it's because they're doing twofold. They're learning what happens in the classroom, and we're expanding it out into the community. We do things internally. First year students don't necessarily go out to job sites other than our school building. So as a result, we're able to help our building out with mailings. We've helped with the nurse's office in putting first aid kits together, library and filing and inventory, all of those types of things would fall into play. Anything that happens in the classroom or in our building. The community, basically sky's the limit. The sites that are listed up there right now are all sites that we have worked with over the years. Right now, our biggest sites right now is the Princeton Food Pantry. We also have the university stores right now. We also have the YMCA, Princeton Rec recreational department and such. But I could keep going on, and it basically is a result of what students are in my room and what are their likes. Okay, Richard, I'm going to introduce Richard right now. Richard is one of my super seniors, so he has a quick little presentation on his slide that he would like to share with you. Hey, buddy.
Thank you. Okay. Hope this holds. There we go. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for being here tonight. Is this working? Hello? Okay, this is working. Thank you for being here tonight, everybody. My name is Ricardo, or Richard, as some people call me. And I've been in school to work for ever since my 9th grade. So it's been a while. And it has really changed who I am over time, to be honest. And I want to go over everything I've learned, the 3 most important things I've learned mentionally, which is responsibility, work ethic, and time management. Let's start with responsibility. So one of the most important things I learned about responsibility is the improvements in compromising. When I started here in the Princeton Middle School, I never did my work, okay? And I was really just watching videos on YouTube and never did my work, and that was basically what I do, especially because I didn't have anybody looking over my shoulder to say, hey, do your work. And this was something I was used to back in Brazil. And since that wasn't happening, I was like, maybe it's not that important then. Little did I know it would define my future. But school to work opened my eyes and said, hey, you do have to do this. This is your future right in front of you, and you need to actually try, right? So I came into terms with the fact that I needed to do the work. And school to work is one of the main classes that helped me realize that, especially since they actually looked over my shoulder and said, hey, do this, right? This is the first phase of the progress of my responsibility. The second phase is the acceptance of that responsibility. So the first phase talks about how I was like, I was doing the work, but I was like not actually really caring about it, right? But I embraced that responsibility thanks to school to work, and I actually tried to do it. I actually gave effort. I wrote what I thought made the most sense, and not just wrote some mumbo jumbo and just submitted to the teacher. I actually tried to do it, and it still sticks. It sticks. Lastly, I want to talk about being trusted with that responsibility. That is the final phase of the progress that my responsibility made thanks to school work. And that's the point where I got so good at, like, actually, not to brag, but actually got so good at expressing my feelings and actually like doing the work and having love for it, that people would trust me with it. And that led me to do a lot of things, little projects as well. Like I hosted a gardening for a church that we would plant the vegetables and fruits, give them to the church, and the church would give to people in need. I took care, I supervised every student, saying, this is how you plant it, this is how you water it, this is how deep the seed should go. And it felt really good to have the responsibility being taken care of and actually putting all of what I learned about being responsible to use. That happens with like another presentations that I did and presented to the class and telling everybody about that. And it's generally made me embrace the love for learning, which is something really important. And I mean really important. Let's move on to our second attribute, which is work ethic, which is, in my opinion, one of the most important skills to have in the work industry. Let's talk about the motivation and love for my work. This directly ties back to responsibility in general, okay? And and like I said, school to work got me to embrace all of that and just not only do my assignments on time and do it properly, but as well with work in general. Go to work, try your best on the work, and it taught me to love it and not only do it because I have to, and not only try because it's required, but actually love doing it and actually have some fun with it. It's actually like, oh my God, this is such an interesting fact I didn't know. And I just learned that. And it's something that that school to work motivated me to do a lot. And it led me to who I am now, pretty much. The second point is not really what I've learned, but it's something I want to mention, which is its diversity in job sites, which Mrs. B already mentioned. But there are so many job opportunities in school to work that it's shocking. It's shocking. There's, like you said, the YMCA, the school cafeteria. You can go to the PAC. You can work in the PAC for like fixing the audio stuff and things like that. You can go to the garden and garden the plants, water them, and take care. There's so much, and just that diversity in job sites, it is not only gets you very flexible to what work environments you're in, but it also gets you to know people that stick with you to the end. That was my case. I met people that stick with me until this day that I still talk to, and it's a great opportunity to socialize. Not only does it, help you as a worker, it gets you to socialize, which is important since nowadays everybody's glued to their phones. So really important. Last thing on work ethic is the expanding perceptions. How I learned about the how to expand my perceptions and the perceptions of employers. So this talks specifically about how school to work teaches us students what to expect from those employers, how we should act on an interview, what the employers expect us to say in an interview. Teaches us a lot about interview and about writing resumes and about acting, how to properly act in a work environment in general. And part of that is like dressing properly. You can see it works. So yeah, last thing I want to talk about is time management. Time management is something extremely, and I mean extremely important, especially here. So school to work really taught me something that really, really changed my grading of school for the better, really, which is the ownership of my own scheduling. I got to school on time finally. I'm finally getting to school on time. When I started, I never got to school on time. Never, ever. Never. And especially, and the thing is that in Brazil, it's not such a big deal because there's nothing as such as points based on attendance and stuff. So attendance is taken, and like being on time is taken much more seriously here. And so the fact that school to work not only providing management strategies, which is our second point, to wake up on time and to manage my time and to do this assignment on this time period and submit it this time, the fact it teaches me this changes a lot. It really constructs the grade. It's a really supporting ground for it. And the fact that school to work teaches this is great. It is amazing. Also because you need to be on time for work or else you get fired, right? So like, it was really helpful. Last but not least, time awareness. While the other 2 points talked about specifically waking up on this time and getting to school or work on that time, the time awareness I'm talking about specifically is when you have a limited time to do something. So when you have a limited time to, stock these shelves or to run to this place and go to that other place. That kind of thing is still something that I'm learning right now in school to work. And it's something that seems really helpful as of far. And so like I'm like they're timing me on the time that I should do this project and this thing and do this. And I was timed on my speech as well. So I trained for this with a time limit. So yeah. And the time limits is also like I have a little time limit on my head to like translate certain words that people say to English, because there is a student who speaks Chinese and I speak a little bit Chinese, and I'm like in my head I'm like, okay, you got a very tight time here. This means this and this means this and this means this. So it's kind of going on in my head and it's building at the same time while I talk in other languages. So it's a really helpful little tool. It's really cool thing. A last little mention that I want to do, now that we've gone over all the attributes, is that school to work, it really helps people. It really helps students learn at their own pace, no matter in what situation they are, in what level they are. It doesn't matter. The school to work goes to their pace and gets them to learn at their pace. And I've seen the glows. I've seen the glows of every student, and it's incredible to see. So school to work really helps everybody, no matter what level, no matter what their situation is, no matter what, and it goes to their pace. And it changed me. It changed me. Who I am. I once again want to thank everybody for being here tonight, including everybody here. And I want to thank Mrs. B for sticking with me for this wild ride of 4 years almost, and just being there for me and just changing me who I am in general. Thank you. Thank you.
So my next student,
It's your time.
and I promise you it'll be a little bit faster.
Oh, come on.
No, it's all good. We don't. My next student is Ryan Craig. Go ahead, bud. I'm going to sneak right behind you.
This is on.
Yep, it's on.
All right. Hi, everyone. My name's Ryan Craig, and I'm here to talk about things I'm learning from school to work, which are communication, respect, and responsibility. For communication, I go to the Princeton Community Park pool. When I'm there, I learn how to communicate with customers while learning about food serving. I feel great meeting people and getting friendships. I also enjoy communicating with coworkers. This helps us work as a team and learn about fruit preparation. For respect, I go to the Princeton High School cafeteria to work, and I use eye contact while I'm talking and listening to staff. This is one way to show my respect and understanding. We use special manners to thank people and show our respect. I also work on party planning. I have learned that there are many different ideas shared. It's important to respect everybody's different ideas so that everybody has an opinion. And for responsibility, I also go to the YMCA Fitness Center and Princeton High School weight room. While I'm there, I help organize and clean the weight rooms. I'm able to finish within the time period needed so the customers can use the equipment. Another example of responsibility is my presentation tonight. I have the responsibility of presenting the great things we are learning in class. When I get a job, I will know how to be responsible and help my employer. Thank you for your time and attention.
So there is one more slide, but at the same point, our last slide is basically, how can you guys help us? If you have ideas, you know somebody that wants to share what their passion is, you have a site, you know somebody that owns a business of any kind, I would love to sit down, meet with you, talk with them, open to all the above.
What's your email, Cindy?
So it's Cynthia Bregenzer at PrincetonK12.org. And obviously it's not up there, but I apologize for that. But it's Cynthia Bregenzer, and it's the regular Princeton K12.
So we're going to include that we send out a summary, and
Okay.
we'll be sure to include your full email.
Absolutely,
in it.
that would be great.
If
Perfect.
anyone in the community has,
Yeah.
some opportunities that our students
Yeah.
would be good
And
for.
like I said, I might not know the student at that point in time that would fit into that mold, but as soon as I bring it back and I share it with our students, usually that's where we start to say, "Ooh, I'm kind of interested in that," kind of thing. So
And what
Thank
else
you.
can we do for you?
I'm sorry.
How else can we help you?
I think it's just being able to give us opportunities. Like I said, if we can't go to sites, I am open to people coming in and talking with us about a career. I am open to doing work at school. We've done many mailings for many different people. We've done things where we're doing shredding and such. You name it, I can figure out how to teach the students to learn those skills.
And this was a great presentation. How long have you been running the School to Work program?
So I've been with Princeton I'm in my 23rd year, but I also worked 20 years prior to that at Eden Institute.
Mhm.
So when I was at Eden, I also worked with individuals with autism in their adult programs and getting students out in the community. So I've done it way longer than.
Well,
Yeah. Okay.
so you started when you were like 12, 10, 5. I want to thank you. You do very important work.
Thank you.
And we appreciate it. And I have 2 questions, one for Ryan, one for Richard. So Ryan, since you're up there,
Yes.
what is your favorite type of work to do?
For my favorite type of work, I'm gonna say I like helping in the cafeteria.
Mhm.
Yeah, because I'm learning how to wash the food
Mhm.
and put them in cups. Like how I'm washing the grapes. Yeah, the red ones and the green ones. Yeah, and I put them in cups. And I also put them in a cold case. Yeah, but when I start helping wash food, I need to wash my hands and put on gloves. Yes.
Yeah, that's great. A lot of people out in the workforce don't do that. So we appreciate that you're doing that.
I'm pretty good.
Yeah.
I'm pretty good.
That's good. Thank you,
answer.
Ryan. And Richard, the same question for you. What's your favorite type of job?
My favorite type of job? That's a tough question. I would say, I don't know if that counts, but I would love to do like a work that is related to music. I'm a musician myself. I make music. I play the piano. And if there's a music related job, I'd love to do it. But I think from general jobs that I've done in School to Work the most, I would probably say, I really like doing these very big presentations like I am right now.
Yeah. I mean, you're
That's
great
one.
at it. I understand.
Because I got all eyes on me.
Yeah.
And that's great. That's great. And I think I really enjoy, I also really enjoy taking care of pets as well. I'm a pet sitter. I walk dogs, I sit dogs. They're all amazing dogs. I love them. And I just love animals in general. If there's anything that has to do with animals, I really enjoy it. And plants as well, just life in general. I really like taking care of plants and sitting dogs or feeding cats or, whatever has to do with life in general. So yeah,
Well, thank you. And thank you for coming tonight. And thank you for dressing up.
of course. Well, thank you.
And we wish you all the luck. Oh, hold on.
I know
hold
I
on.
look very good.
I want to thank you too. And Cindy, one of the other hats I wear is being on the board of the Princeton Mobile Food Pantry. And we've been a partner and had the students come, which we absolutely love. So my other big shout out to the community is really, if you have an organization or a place, because the students really, it's great. We love sharing our pantry with you. We love that you guys come in.
Yeah.
So I want to thank you for that too.
You are more than
course.
welcome.
I shall forever and ever.
Yeah. Okay.
I will die standing up.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you again.
Thank you.
Thank you very
Have a
much,
good night.
everybody.
And thank you, Mrs. Baldeo. That was an excellent presentation. Not that you don't have big shoes to fill. Go ahead.
No, yeah, just a giant thank you to Cindy and Richard and Ryan. You guys, terrific.
Thank you. I'm very flattered.
I think I need to hire you as my personal assistant, actually.
Please do.
I will say about a year and a half ago, I got to attend a ceremony in my former district with our first cohort to ever go all the way through to the age of 20 in the school to work program. And it was such a great day. And I remember two of the kids had full-time employment that day when they were leaving. One worked at Ace Hardware, because he was so great at helping customers and helping them find what they needed. And the other we actually hired as an instructional assistant full-time in the district because she was so good at helping other kids and listening to the teacher. So great job. We're going to cancel the rest of the meeting because there's just no point in trying to do anything better. But you guys are doing great work, and we thank you for giving us some sunshine tonight. So we appreciate it.
Thank you.
Yeah, and now we're going to turn to something a little less scintillating, but important nonetheless, and that's the annual testing report that Dr. Tu will walk us through.
I appreciate the compliment. And if you want to talk with me, hey, I'm free. You can exchange it for me.
Thank you, everyone. Good evening. I feel really set up. Not everyone wants to talk about data. And then following that presentation, I know no one wants to talk about data. So thank you, Richard, Ryan, and Cindy. That was wonderful. So hi to the community. I'm Kim Tu. I'm the Assistant Soup of Curriculum and Instruction. With me tonight are some of my fabulous team. We have Sarah Moore as our Supervisor of Elementary Education. She'll be popping in. Tiffany Brennan, our 6 to 12 Math Supervisor and Business Ed. And then Jackie Katz, K-12 Science. With us, who could not be here tonight, I'm sorry, are Keisha Smith-Carrington and John McMichael. They had prior commitments, including like family commitments, and they couldn't come here. Darn for them. So what I would like to say before we get started is that I'm going to do an overview, and these ladies are going to join me in that overview. The details will be posted on the website. So we're going to talk about themes and generalities, but the next kind of steps are this will be posted on the district website tomorrow morning for people to get more in detail. And I'm always reachable if people have questions. So this is also the last year of NJSLA testing. Some of our elementary students already started with NJSLA adaptive field tests this week. Later this week is high school and next week is middle school. So we don't know what reporting will look like next year, but we will have a new baseline for the board next year. So we're no longer going to be able to compare apples to apples. So the fun continues in standardized testing. Next slide, please. All right, so discussion topics. So we're going to start up at the high school level. We're going to talk about AP scores, ACT, SAT scores, and then finally we'll get to NJSLA, ELA, math, and science. Next. All right, AP. So this is for last school year. Real quick, these are all the APs we offer at Princeton High School. We also have a lot of students who self-study, and those scores are reported with our scores as well. Next. Okay, here is our AP score summary. So shockingly, despite our high school being about 1,500 students currently, we had 1,851 exams last year. That is a lot of exams. And then that is the breakdown. So most college credit is either scoring a 4 or 5. Some colleges also accept a score of 3, so that you can see, if you just go back for a second, we are in really good range of looking at our 4s and 5s and barely anyone scoring in the 1s and 2s. Next slide. So number of AP scholars. So an AP scholar is someone who scores a 3 or higher on 3 AP exams. An AP scholar with honors is someone who scores a 3 or higher on 4 AP exams. And then for that distinction level is an average of 3.5 on all exams taken, or a score of 3 or higher on 5 AP exams. So you see the amount of students who receive that AP scholar with distinction is 271. That is a lot of students. And then the international diploma is for like international credentials, as you can imagine, and you have to pass at least 5 AP exams with scores of 3 or higher, including 2 exams in different languages, 1 with a global perspective, like a world history, and 1 in math, science, or computer science. So these are the showing that you're well-rounded across the content areas and proficient or advanced proficient in language. Next slide. So here's our summary of AP scores. So what I'd like to highlight is that we had 59 more students take the exams this year compared to last year. So the number of exams went up because we have kids taking multiple AP classes, but we also have 59 more unique students who took AP exams this year. Students who scored 3 or above, 701, which takes us to about 94%. So down a little bit, but still in the 94th percentile, and more students take more this year than last year. So once again, this is going to be on the website, so I'm not going to belabor how we did, but this is sort of the transparency of, how we scored across the different content areas. So you start off with English Lit, we go down to music theory, 2D art design at the top. You go to the next slide, Andrew. Thank you. There. Okay. Go down to the next one, and then we have physics. So you can look at that score report. We also have demographic breakdowns across like race and program, but those are suppressed for the public because we have students that are less than like the number of 10 of an N size. So the board has that information. I shared that with you in the update, but it's not for public consumption. That is a rule that we must follow as a public school district, because then students would be identifiable. So I just want to make that clear if anyone's asking about demographic data. So, how do we do these continuous improvement goals? What I share with you is really great news, but we want to continue to enhance accessibility to AP classes, that all kids consider themselves willing and able to take an AP class. And how do we get them, once they're in the class, to want to take the exam as well? Because we do have students who might take the class for the rigor, but maybe not the assessment at the end of the year. What we do at the high school level, and we have 2 supervisors here tonight who could talk more about this later, is that the departments look at the score analysis and program improvement. Are we seeing patterns? Are we seeing areas that we need to address? And then we input everything into Linkit, so we start seeing like patterns over years and see how we're growing or maybe decreasing in particular content areas. And we also really advocate for our teachers to take us up on professional development about AP opportunities. So several of our teachers serve as AP readers each year, so that is the best professional development they could take, because they become a scorer for the exam and see what the College Board is looking for, get sort of credibility in that area, and then bring it back home to us, which is always wonderful. Okay, next slide. All right, SATs. So our average score went up from last year was 1295, and we've crossed the 1300 threshold. We were at 1319 this year for our average SAT score. So also great news. Next slide. Here are our means, and you can see that we are far above the average score for New Jersey, which is 1061, and at the national average of 1029. ACT. Now, we had a few less kids take The ACT this year compared to last year, the ACT remains an assessment that I think is really valuable, and certain colleges are known for looking at the ACT more than the SAT, and maybe last year students were attracted to different schools. These are great questions for us to ask our graduating seniors, when they leave us. But the good news is that we went up. We want to look at that second row, that composite mean score. We went from a 28.2 to a 29.3. And then all the sub scores, math, science, English, reading and writing, also went up. So great news when we're talking about all of our high school to college and career assessments. Now we're going to get to the NJSLA. Not everyone, values state standardized testing, but I guess it's part of my role. I have to. But I really do think it helps us because every student takes the NJSLA. Not every student takes an SAT exam. Not every student takes an AP exam. Not every student takes the ACT. So I look at this and say, how are we doing amongst ourselves and peer districts with the state standards? How are we exposing kids to this student proficiency? The science assessment is very rigorous, as we know, Ms. Katz knows. And so how are we looking at improving outcomes in that assessment? Because across the state average is low when it comes to the science exams. The other point about the science assessments is a lot of families and kids and across the state don't value it because it's not really it doesn't go anywhere. It doesn't do anything and it's not used for any kind of placement purposes. But the thinking in the assessment is really good and the transfer of skills is really good. So we only take the science assessment in 3 grades. That's grades 5, 8, and 11. And we really are looking at phenomenon, why are things happening? When you leave here tonight, your windows are going to fog up in your car. Why is that happening? And can a kid explain why that's happening and the science behind it? Next slide, please. Okay, so there is a lot on the screen and it's very small. I'm sorry thank you, Mr. Harris. For the audience, I'm going to, even better. Can you scroll for me? Okay, great. So, and I have Mike's laser pointer, but it's too far away. Oh, do you see? I'm kind of poking it at Susan now. It's not really working, but if you see, so there are 4 levels of proficiency in science, and we want level 3, which is proficient, or level 4, which is above proficient or advanced proficient. And so you see across the top, those are the 4 levels. And then it says on the right-hand side, change in level 1 and 2, so 24 to 25. You want that number to have a negative in front of it, right? And then change in levels 3 to 4, 24 to 25. So I am pleased to report, even though we have a ways to go with looking at science across the state and in Princeton, we went up on average across the 3 grades 9.9% in our science scores. So that is very, very good news. That's what I like to see. And the scores really help us inform our programming. So I know Jackie's going to talk a little bit later of what the next steps look like in that programming and how we create assessments that are really internal, that really support the deep thinking and transfer of skills that we want to see. All right, so the other thing, next slide. Okay. Oh, do you want to go back one? Okay, that we have to. Okay, thank you so much. So the other thing we have to report, when you have more than one school in a grade band, districts are required to report to the public how the schools compare. So you see here we have Community Park, Johnson Park, Littlebrook, and Riverside. We only have 1 middle school and 1 high school, as you all are aware. So you see a differential here. What we want to think about is consistency in programming, meaning the school that scored the lowest was at 52.2% meeting or exceeding proficiency, and the highest was 75.5%. For me, that is too much of a differential. We should be much more closely aligned and looking at where we are. And so our average across the district was 63.5%, which doesn't sound high, but last year it was 57.9%. So we are increasing and we are improving. And Jackie has really made a concerted effort. I love that she is a secondary educator by heart, but loves visiting the elementary schools and coming down to the elementary schools and talking about science programming at the elementary level and working with our STEAM teachers. And we have a PD day coming up in December, and she's already earmarked time to talk about science with our elementary educators. So we know that it's only going to get better and trying to have more of that consistency across the board. Right, Andrew, next slide, please. Through NJSLA, we are also required to report out demographic data. So the first one we look at is race. And so unfortunately, our opportunity gaps continue to exist across racial groups. However, we are improving outcomes across every racial group in science. So you can see for the lightest green is from 2023, the mid green is 2024, and the darkest green is 2025. So what we want to see is that dark green being like the highest one, right? That we continue to improve those outcomes. And you can see the jumps in some of the subcategories. We went down slightly across multiracial, but every other group went up, and some significantly. Now here we are with gender, the same thing, though I do want to point out that some students identify as non-binary, but the number was small enough to be suppressed. So right here, all you're seeing is male and female because that's what we can report out to the community. But once again, we're seeing growth, particularly in our female students, but also in our male students. And then subgroup by program. So programming it says ELL, technically it's multilingual learners in our ESL program. FR lunch means students who receive lunch assistance. Section 504, students with 504 plans who receive accommodations for their learning. Special education, students with IEPs, and then general education. So the good news is even if it's slight, like for under the ELL, every subgroup improved compared to last year when it comes to science achievement. So that's really the effort that we want to see. Okay, so now I'm going to turn it over to Jackie Katz so she can talk about areas of strength and areas for growth in science and next steps.
Thank you. All right, thank you, everyone. And I'm going to apologize because I have about 20% voice left at this point in time, but it's all good. So thank you for having me here to speak about what's happening in the science department. So like Kim had mentioned, a big goal of ours is the K-5 space because there's a lot going on in a K-5 classroom, and sometimes science is only dealing with limited bandwidth. So our big focus this year is how can we make the most out of those moments? So we're doing a lot of work there. The K-5 teachers are working with a new curriculum map this year to really try to find the best use of our time to hit those 3 dimensions of science, thinking, and learning that we're focused on and the New Jersey state standards are focused on. So we have a lot of really strong things to leverage to continue this good work. And it's our STEAM program at the elementary schools, as well as our garden educators who are all on board to build a really robust science program for our students, as well as our K-5 classroom teachers that are invested in thinking about phenomena and how we can use that to get students motivated and asking those important questions. At the secondary level, we're also thinking about some of those achievement gaps and how can we make sure that students in all of our classes are achieving all of our standards. I was just in a meeting with the state, and their big statement right now is all students, all standards. And I think that's an important message for us to think about at the Princeton schools across the board. So again, we have really strong things to leverage. We have teachers who are super passionate about 3-dimensional teaching and continuing to push their process. So we're working as a department to think about our internal assessments and how that can better prepare our students for this 3D thinking on the state assessment and also in their everyday lives. So it's really kind of an exciting time. Teachers are motivated, students are motivated. Seeing the growth in the numbers is always a good mood booster, but we're excited for the work ahead and we're really looking forward to it.
So everything that Jackie just said, and sorry, no, I'm going to save your voice, please. I feel painful for you. So the one thing is, and this is across a lot of high schools, is just the stakeholder buy-in for the assessments. We have about a quarter of our juniors take the assessment for science and NJSLA. It's at a really inopportune time. It's right before AP exams. As you see, we have a lot of students taking AP exams, and it's not really used for anything at the state level. And so how do we get that buy-in? Because we, once again, all standards, all students, we really want, this is an indicator. It's a diagnostic for us. We really do use this data. Like we really do work as a curriculum team to say, where is our programming falling short? Where is it meeting kids' needs or exceeding kids' needs in a good way? And how do we constantly improve? And we can't do that if we don't have accurate data. data. So these are the things that we're working on, and those rich science tasks. And then Jackie is beginning the rudimentary work this year, the first steps this year, and because we're focusing on humanities, but next year looking at a science program review and thinking about that K-12 scope and sequence and how do we build upon those skills. So thank you, Jackie. All right, ELA. Okay, here we go. So the NJSLA ELA is in grades 3 through 9 and really emphasizes skills like close reading, synthesizing ideas in a cross text, and really looking at vocabulary and writing instruction. You can go to the next slide. Once again, I am so sorry. This is small, but you will have it online and for your own review. It's 55 slides, so enjoy. We don't have it as good news, but I'm not that worried about it. If you look on that bottom right corner, we went up 1.1% in levels 1, 2, and 3. So in ELA and in math, there are 5 levels of proficiency. So what we want is kids in level 4 and level 5. And you can see our 2023 scores compared to 24-25. So we went down 1.1% in levels 4 and 5 this school year. And you're going to see we're kind of all over the place when we look at the grade level breakdown. So if you can go to the next slide, Andrew. Okay, so when you're looking at this, you kind of want to look at it 2 ways. So you have what grade 3 scored last year, 70% meeting or exceeding. And then this year, our grade 3 just did not do as well, or 24-25 school year didn't do as well at 62%. But if you look like catty corner, like if you look at grade 3 and 23-24, and then look at grade 4, 2025, that cohort of students increased 7%. If you look at grade 4, 23-24, and look at grade 5, 24-25, they stayed at the same. Grade 5 increased from 80% to 82. Grade 6, 70 to 85%. Grade 7, 86 to 89%. So the only grade that went down, like cohort-wise, was grade 8 to grade 9 from 81% to 75%. So what are we missing? And look at that data and that program review. Where are kids not scoring as strongly in grade 9 to support those needs? So, but overall, the cohorts did really well. And it's just looking like how do we, year to year, we keep up those high scores. I really want to shout out the middle school. If you look, we're above 80% in grades 6 through 8. When we look at our multi-tiered systems of support, our goal is to have 80% of kids like consistently meeting or exceeding expectation. And all 3 of the ELA grades in the middle school have hit that target, which is really something to celebrate for sure. Okay, next slide. Okay, so now going across the grades. So this is grade 3 school comparison. Once again, when we talk about consistency and variability, this is an area of concern. So we have a school, so if we start off with CP, scoring 50% meeting or exceeding, and then JP is 61%, Littlebrook is 65%, and Riverside is 75.6% if you add up levels 4 and 5. So once that's 25% variability. So one of the things we're doing this year, if you haven't heard about it, is looking at our ELA programming, right? And instituting arts and letters and really teaching kids and exposing all kids to grade level text and writing ability. That's not just to score higher. So I do this one time a year for the board and for the community. That's really to make sure that all kids have access. I cannot reiterate, Jackie, enough. All standards, all kids. And so we really want to make sure our multilingual learners, our students with IEPs, our students with 504s, our students who receive free lunch assistance, our students who are gifted, all have enriching experiences that meet their needs and push them further. So we're going to go to grade 4 now. There's a little bit less variability, but still variability. So here they are for 4th grade. We have, 73.6%, 66.1%. So that's CP was 73, JP was 66, Littlebrook 77%, and Riverside 90%. So you can see the difference there as well. And that the district average is at the bottom on the right-hand side. And then finally for 5th grade, we have CP at 78.8, JP 66.2, this is Littlebrook 74.7 and Riverside 80. So that one's a little bit closer. There's not as much of a spread. And overall, the district average was 73.6. Okay. Next slide. So here is our subgroup information. And so this goes to race. So we continue to narrow, not by a ton, but I'd rather see it up than down, opportunity gaps for our Black and Hispanic students. You also see a slight decrease for our Asian students. But compared to science, you also see that it's not as much of a gap between the ethnic groups and the races here, which I think is interesting. Right. Next slide, please. So here we have female and male. So our females went down slightly, as did our males. But I will say last year, our females grew 5% and our males went up 6%. So we are still in a decent area, but we slightly went down in both subgroups this year. And then finally, we have our ELA data across subgroups, and focusing on our multi-tiered systems of support. We have some great news of narrowing those opportunity gaps across programming. So once again, Gen Ed, I think, stayed the same. It's hard to see the numbers from back here, but it looks the same on my end. But everything else compared to 24, that dark purple is where we want to be. And you can see it slightly above last year, or greatly above last year. And that's for our ELA data. Okay, so I'm going to let Sarah Moore, our supervisor of elementary ed, talk about areas in strength and areas for growth for K-5 and next steps.
Hi, thank you so much for having me. It's so great to see everyone. Andrew, can you do me a favor and zoom in just a little bit? I know the text is tiny for those in the back. Thank you for Dr. Tu for going over those numbers really quickly. Again, it will be posted. Some things that we are doing at the elementary level, as Dr. Tu mentioned, we are launching a new ELA program, perhaps you have heard. It is really difficult and one of the hardest things that an elementary teacher will do in their career to lift a new program. It is essential that that happens. What we had been using previous from Teachers College was dissolved. The New Jersey standards for ELA have changed. They're more robust and rigorous. We really need to lean into the analytical side, looking at figurative and literal language, looking at close reading, really helping students find pathways and on-ramps of how to access those standards that the state is asking of them. We went through a rigorous 12-month program and adopted arts and letters because it met that need. We are working with onboarding teachers, so we have instructional coaching all the time. Every day you can find an instructional coach doing instructional coach work. There are monthly grade level meetings. There are monthly cohorts for both math and ELA. We are doing lab sites with our new ELA vendor starting in December. There is a ton of support around implementing a standards aligned ELA curriculum to really help support all of our students. As Dr. Tu mentioned, really supporting our multilingual learners. There's something called Prologue in this new ELA program, which provides on-ramps for students that are multilingual learners and boiling down what are essential core components of vocabulary acquisition and getting those knowledge strands to knowledge build for students. We have fully implemented IMSI Orton-Gillingham K through 5 as of this year and bringing that structured literacy up to our 4th and 5th grade students. It was a huge success in 3rd grade last year. It has been going very well K through 2. So now we have a full K-5 implementation. In the later grades, that looks at morphemic analysis and how Greek and Latin prefixes, roots, and suffixes unlock meaning for students and allow them to access higher level vocabulary content. We have now adopted Acadians for benchmarking rather than DRA and best practice. That is considered a gold standard at the state and national level. It looks more at a skills-based approach for students and checking in on where they are for their literacy journey, so we can really help support students as they move through our K-5 continuum. Okay, we really want to help reduce the number of students at that minimum proficient. Oh, perfect. So moving forward, we are leveraging those instructional coaching cycles. We are working with grade K through 5 at monthly meetings, but specifically focusing at that 3 through 5 because they are adopting a lot this year. We are providing staff feedback and support when observing our new ELA programs. Again, we are starting with lab sites in another month-ish. We do have professional development around Acadians and some of these literacy changes because as we see, they are needed. We really want parity across all of our buildings and opportunities for all students to be extremely successful. Okay. Thank you, Sarah.
Thank you. And then I'm going to do areas 6 through 12. So the good news, as we shared, we're of the 4 grades, mostly we have really great news, consistent performance above the state levels, of course. We do have alignment across our middle schools, and with a disciplinary literacy focus in social studies, we try to really treat social studies and ELA as a humanities department, and that's why Keisha Smith-Carrington is a supervisor of humanities. And we did add a tier 2, like academic support ELA lab at the middle school last year. We continue to do that growth this year. we were talking with math lab teachers, not ELA, but they were saying kids love it. Like they at first were like, what is this last year? But now kids who have been in it who might have said, well, why aren't I in it anymore? Because they're finding that they have that extra time for that teacher support, executive functioning, and things along those lines. And then we have benchmark internal assessments like Common Lit to monitor internal growth across the school year. We really need to continue to decrease those number of students not meeting or exceeding, and that transition from 8th to 9th grade. Obviously, that's something that we want to work on, and that's where that horizontal and vertical alignment always come in. And then how do we not teach in silos? So what I'm teaching you in social studies about a thesis, how am I going back to what your English language arts teacher is talking about? And how do I write with different purposes in mind or different audiences in mind is always extremely important. If you go to the next slide, please. So next step, I'm just doing a lot of department-wide professional learning on culturally sustaining literacy practices and making sure that students are engaged. Keisha does a great job when she's observing staff about always asking about student engagement. And that doesn't mean just like, were they happy? Like, how are kids actively participating in the learning? Looking at data-informed instruction, lesson design to strengthen our interventions, both at Tier 1, which is in the gen ed classroom, but also outside of the gen ed classroom. I'm going to skip down to that horizontal and vertical articulation and teaching to transfer and common assessments, those little checks in to like make sure that we have honoring the teacher's agency, but also having some commonality across courses is very important. And then finally, coming soon to you, and there'll be communication forthcoming, we are going to be conducting a humanities program review this year. So our first formal meeting will be in mid-November, and then we will start sending out communication to district families once we create survey questions, focus group dates, etc. So we will be engaging students. Hopefully some of the students we have here tonight can be part of that process with focus groups and surveys, as well as staff and families. Awesome. Thank you, Richard. I'm going to sign you up. All right. And last but not least, mathematics. So we do mathematics technically in grades 3 through 7 because we currently don't offer Math 8, but that is what is offered at the state level. Algebra 1, Algebra 2, and Geometry. And it goes through all the math substandards. Next slide. Okay, this is a very big chart. If you can just scroll down to the bottom again, Andrew. So you really, really want to look. It's the same thing as ELA. There are 5 levels. We want kids in levels 4 and level 5. You see the progress over 23 to 25. And we went down 2.7% in levels 1 and 2. That's good news. And we went up 3, and we went up 2.7%. So overall, we went up, I'm just going to summarize for everyone, 9.9% in science. We went down 1.1% in ELA, and we went up 2.7% in math. That's sort of the headline, I guess, of the NJSLA. Probably could have saved you a lot of time. All right, next slide. All right, so here are last year's results compared to this year's results. Once again, you want to kind of look both horizontally and catty corner. So like last year, like third graders scored 78%. This year they scored 75. But if you look at last year's third grade to this year's fourth grade, they went up 3%. Fourth grade went down 1%, but fifth grade went up 2%. So we're all kind of all over the place here. And then when we get to algebra, some of the things that I really want to highlight, and I think this is kudos to Tiffany and the math department team and the placement process and just really aligning, because what was happening before is Algebra 1 really wasn't Algebra 1. We were kind of doing a lot of middle school math skills in Algebra 1, and the kids weren't getting to the algebra. So we kind of really streamlined that and straightened that out. When you look at algebra, you see 6th grade 100%, 7th grade 100%. That's what it should be. These are kids who are far above grade level. Algebra is a 9th grade course. I know it doesn't feel that way here, but it is a 9th grade standard course. 8th grade, 58% seems low, and I wanted higher, but last year we were at 47%. So we jumped 11 points this year with that cohort. And then last year, at 9% of our 9th graders met or exceeded in Algebra 1, and this year it's 20, or just the past administration, we're up to 27%. So we are getting there. We have some great staff who really love teaching Algebra 1 at the high school. And Tiffany's focus has been that algebraic thinking with the staff. And how are we building that with Sarah at the elementary level and then transitioning to the middle school level. Algebra 2, you see 7th, 8th, and 9th combined continues to be 100%. Woohoo! I wish all our numbers looked like that, right, guys? And then geometry is interesting, and maybe Tiffany can talk a little bit about this. What we're finding is that a lot of kids take geometry over the summer between 8th and 9th grade, so then they're not taking it at the high school level, or they're not part of that testing thing because they've taken it at the middle school level. But also, when we look at standards and how they're aligned, a lot of emphasis of geometry gets like kind of skipped over or taken out in lieu of other like substandards. So statistics and probability kind of get always cut short, as is geometry. So that is going to be a focus working at the math department of how are we really building up that thinking before we get to geometry itself. Because once again, just because not all kids are taking geometry doesn't mean that we can't improve that average assessment score. Okay. So here we go again with our elementary numbers. I'm pleased to report we don't have as much variability across the 4 elementary schools in math that we do in ELA. So that's the good news. So overall, we're 74.7%. CP was 69.1. JP was 75. Littlebrook was 77.1, and Riverside was 74.7. So much closer in spread than they were with ELA. Math grade 4 overall, 81.1%. So it's clicking in for kids in 4th grade. CP was 71.8. JP was 71.9. Littlebrook was 83.9. And Riverside was 76.3. And then grade 5, we have overall 76.3%. CP was 65.7. JP was 71.8. Littlebrook was 83.9 and Riverside was 81.2. So of the grades, that's the one we're looking at. We think that has the most variability there. And it's an important year, right? Kids are transitioning to the middle school. So how are we solidifying those math skills in 5th grade and making sure teachers have the support? So that's where Sarah is talking about, like the math coaching and the professional development and how are we really meeting students' needs as they wrap up elementary programming and head to the middle school. Okay, so subgroups, here it is by race again, but this time for math. We have a slight 1% decrease in our Asian subgroup, but we have increases in all the others, particularly in our Black subgroup and multiracial and white. Next one. Okay, here we are for gender over 3 years. Once again, we're looking for that dark blue. So our females grew quite a bit, which is great. And our males slightly grew. So good news in both subgroups. And then for programming, so that's the ESL, lunch assistance, 504, special ed, and gen ed. Every group except 504 increased in proficiency. Okay, so Sarah's back.
Hi again. Okay, so some strengths, again, consistent performance above the state levels. We have very strong curricular infrastructure. Math matters very much to our students here, even from kindergarten onward. Math identity is a huge part of who they are. There are many different platforms to practice sort of being off level for those that are ready for more challenge or those that need additional support. Things like iReady, we do link at benchmark testing as they get older to have those metrics closer to how we think they will do on some of these state testing components. I really can't shout out our instructional coaches enough. They are an integral part of really helping support our teachers at the ground level here in Princeton. It is a really unique, beautiful gem of the programming here. Our math coach was in 4 classrooms today. I debriefed with him before and after. Really just being able to provide that hands-on level support is super helpful, especially as new staff come to us because we know math expectation is high. Areas of growth, we really want to help students that are minimal and limited proficiency and provide that tiered instruction. We have great alignment with tier 2 and tier 3 programming. So really talking about our MTSS process, working with our academic intervention services that we have here just to help move students and support them at the levels where they are and increase opportunities for vertical and horizontal articulation across grade levels, especially as we get ready for that 5th to 6th transition year. It is such a big deal as students get ready to enter into different pathways and options and really meeting students where they are. That was work that we did last year that we're excited to continue into this year. Great news, we have more Continental Math League signups this year than ever before, and we already had quite a few. Our students do really good and win national level awards for Continental Math League. Math workshop implementation has gone very, very well. That was a huge priority 4 years ago when we started that work here in Princeton. I would say, with 100% accuracy, every elementary teacher is doing math workshop. There is differentiation to meet the needs of the learners in front of them. Additional school resources were added to the lending library this year. So things like exemplars, versatiles, things that students can get more hands-on, and again, providing differentiated pathways for students. Exemplars are open-ended tasks that students solve that really look at higher level thinking skills and application. We really want to continue to encourage and support our students where they are. And then continued implementation of our new math standards, because the state loves new standards. Really thinking about being mindful of our DLI program and what math access looks like in those classrooms and building up math vocabulary, and additional opportunities for things like exemplars and versatiles and extended thinking through our focus and volume of reading and math enrichment blocks.
Thank you. And then we have Tiffany to talk about growth 6 to 12.
Hi, everyone. We're happy with the scores that we have, especially algebraically. We've been focusing so much on building up the algebraic thinking of students since in Princeton. At this point, we have all students taking algebra by the time they're in 8th grade. And our results have grown and shown that our work has really been making a difference. We've aligned our curriculum, standards progression alignment, most notably in the middle school. What was called Algebra 1 in 8th grade before was Algebra 1 the second half of the year. But the first half of the year, they were really wrapping up learning some of those 7th and 8th grade math standards so they could be ready for Algebra 1, which also then meant Algebra 2, they had to finish Algebra 1 first. So we've been making a lot of changes, largely because of the math program review that wrapped up right as I was beginning here a couple of years ago. And we're finding big changes and big things and improvements are really happening. Notably this year, we added at the middle school an ESL math class. We have many students through no fault of their own who've had gaps in their learning before they came here and maybe aren't ready, even if they're the age of an 8th grader, they're not ready to learn algebra because they've missed several years of school along the way. And so we're really working to close those gaps with those students. We just started that course in September and things are going well. It's a small class. I was in there one day last week and they are happy learners in there. It was a really fun place to be. We are continually talking about math placement and how we can make it a better process. Sarah and I meet a lot, especially as the spring gets closer and through the summer, with that 5th to 6th grade transition. And then throughout middle school, Dr. Tu and I were just talking, I don't know, Thursday or Friday last week, and I have notes already for what we can change for next year. Just always looking to make things better. We want kids to find the appropriate balance of challenge and success. We don't want anyone to be anxious, but we don't want anyone to be bored either. In our growth areas, we're going to increase the use of prior grade level standards and the standards of math practices. Every classroom from 6th to 12th grade has all the 8 mathematical practices laminated and hanging on the wall and what we're supposed to be referencing all the time. We're really looking to increase opportunities for vertical and horizontal articulation between our teachers. That's our plan on our next half-day PD on December 8th, is really giving teachers time to discuss with each other, planning forward and what have students learned so far. And then we're working to include grade level geometry standards in grades 8 and below. While we have a class called geometry, there are geometry standards that start all the way in kindergarten just with learning what shapes are. But as we've focused so much in Princeton on the algebraic thinking and making everyone ready for algebra, we kind of have shoved some of the geometry things to the side, and now we're seeing the results of that. So our highest achieving math students take geometry in 7th or 8th grade, and they're okay to just scoop up all the extra little things here and there, and they've never heard of the Pythagorean theorem before, even though they should have several times before then, and they're okay with that. But we're finding that our high school students who don't take geometry till 9th grade or 10th grade even, or sometimes even 11th grade, are really struggling with that. They don't quite have the background skills, and so trying to do the background and the current standards has been a challenge. So we want to we're working on doing all the standards, not just the heavy lifters. And then the next slide, which I think might be the last
Yes,
one.
this is the last one.
We're still talking about the things from the math program evaluation a couple of years ago. We are evaluating, revising the 8th grade math offerings to better prepare students for future success. We have a number of students who come to us from outside our district or state or country who maybe aren't ready for algebra yet. So we're looking at revising what can we do to make sure kids are appropriately placed, and just, increasing the use of our department meetings and research-based best practices and pedagogy. We've made a lot of changes to make sure that in a classroom, it's the students doing the thinking and not the teachers. We spent a lot of time talking about engagement in math classrooms, and someone asked me, what do I look for when I observe a class? And I really look for who's doing the heavy lifting. Is it the teachers or is it the students? And that makes a big difference for sure. And of course, maybe we have it. We're zoomed in so we can't see the bottom, but we're implementing MTSS strategies. We've been working a lot with Lauren Samara throughout all of our math classrooms. We're really starting at the middle school and building our way up. So good things on the horizon.
Thank you. Before we take any board questions, I want to say two things. First of all, I want to thank the ladies who joined me tonight. They're a dynamic team, and the work is not done without their support and their leadership. And that's also folks like Keisha Smith-Carrington, who couldn't be here tonight to represent the secondary ELA data. It's really great when you work with people who have the same philosophy as you and who align and want to do the work. So we know there's work to do, and these people are willing and able to do it. So thank you guys for being here tonight to support our students and learning. And the last thing I want to say before questions is I was in a county curriculum meeting today, and a colleague in another district has her board presentation tonight, and she timed it at 1 hour and 45 minutes.
Oh.
So I just want to say you're welcome.
Okay. Well, you know that we would fall asleep. I mean, because it's 5 after 9. We're all home
I
usually.
know. And I had to follow a really dynamic presentation before this. I
Yes.
just want to say that.
No. Thank you. I was going to say something about 55 slides, but that was an excellent presentation.
Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Tu, Ms. Brennan, Ms. Katz, Ms. Moore, and Ms. Keisha Smith-Carrington, who's not here. Thank you. What I wanted to focus on is the math scores that are improving. And I want to say that that's because, yes, it's because of you, Ms. Brennan, and your teachers, but it's really because of you, Kim,
Thank you.
because you came here in a math firestorm, and we had the math review, and I think we did a second math review. I have blocked that out, but I believe we had 2. And you were we taught, and Tiffany, the word is algebraish. We were teaching algebraish. Yeah, it's okay. So, and you had a lot of hard conversations, and you really changed how things are being taught, and it's starting to show now in the test results. And test results are only one thing, but it's because of your leadership that we're seeing these results. And what's most important is that we're seeing it across all subgroups and really seeing growth in the subgroups that we wanted to see growth.
Exactly.
I have every confidence that 3 years from now, after your ELA review and you implement, not to put the pressure on you, but that we're going to see similar results in our ELA scores. And, the same with science and whatever. So, thank you, because it is not whatever. I love science. I love it. It's great. But it's very hard to change how things are done in the district. I know that. And it's much harder to change how things are done here. And you managed to do that.
Thank you.
And you haven't pulled out all your hair yet.
It's got a lot grayer, guys.
Well, we're very sorry. But really, there's a lot of meaningful work happening under your leadership. So thank you.
Thank you. Like I said, it's because of the team and the teachers who get on board with us and really support the work. But I cannot say enough, the highlight is seeing those subgroup programs, seeing the opportunity gaps narrow. Do we have a long way to go? Absolutely. But if that's one thing that we take away from this, that's the work that we're doing and why we care about MTSS so much.
And I love that all students, all standards. That was science. Quoting that. And I think we should have t-shirts because absolutely. Yeah. All students, all standards. I love that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you. And that's exactly how it should be.
Yep.
So thank you. I have one question on the ELA.
Okay.
And because it occurred to me, it probably occurred to everyone else.
Okay.
So at CP, the ELA is a little lower than the other schools. And so we have the DLI program there, half the days in Spanish. What effect do you think the DLI program has on that? And Is that common, or do you think there's areas for improvement there?
Oh, that's a very tough question that I can't really answer in like 2 minutes or less. But what I will say is there has been research about standardized test scores in dual language immersion programs, and that it takes kids a little bit longer to kind of click in when you're taught in 2 languages, throughout the day. So you see like our 5th grade scores were up like where the other schools were. There's a lot of variables though, because the other thing I would say is our 5th grade teacher who teaches all the kids in 5th grade at CP also piloted arts and letters last year. So I'm wondering, like, did that have something to do with it as well? I don't know. I'm going to have more data for you this year. Regardless, is when we look at the TC model that we were previously doing for ELA at the elementary level, it's too much variability. And so when we think about there's autonomy and there's agency, what we want our teachers to have is agency to take curriculum and make it come alive for the students in front of them. When we have autonomy, that means maybe that not all students have all standards. And that's not blaming teachers, that, that was the previous model and that's how it was done. And that's why that program is disbanded. And that's why we've gone to a new one. So I want to make sure, like, when we are looking at N sizes that aren't always apples to apples and things like that, it is concerning that when we look at our socioeconomic demographics across the district, our MLs or our special ed, their scores should be higher there. It should, even with having the delay in standardized testing. So that's something that with Sarah's support, and we have to work with, as well with Ms. Russell, our supervisor of GLI, Ms. Gruchez, the principal, they're looking at those scores, and particularly, what Ms. Russell, Ms. Gruchez have been looking at that 5th grade math there, but we're also looking at the ELA that has to be reviewed.
And I know we don't have time now, but I don't know what we have on the schedule for November, but I would love for you and Ms. Moore to come back, and Ms. Smith Carrington, and talk to us about, well, maybe not Ms. Smith Carrington, but talk about arts and letters, why we moved from Teachers College, what the issue with, because I think a lot of parents don't understand, right, what the issue was with Teachers College, and, how ultimately this is a better program for all students.
Yeah, great. Well, we did we don't get a ton of people at SAC, which, so we have a slide deck, so I think we can make that happen.
I missed this last
That's
meeting.
okay.
Yeah, but I think it's important because I understand Teachers College, but not everyone does, and doesn't understand the approach. And so I'd like to understand what's different with arts and for the parents to understand as well too.
Absolutely. And the other thing I want to advertise is that Sarah and I will be going to every PTO meeting in November for JP, Riverside, and Littlebrook. So Riverside's the 10th, JP's the 11th, Littlebrook's the 21st, and then CP's 12/1, December 1st. And we will also be going to PTO meetings. So you can get it here at the board meeting, or you can come to the PTO meetings in maybe a smaller setting as well. We are happy to talk about everything. Oh, and thank you, Debbie. You keep reminding me. And yes, that is on my calendar, November 13th. We're also doing the CPAG meeting. Yes, thank you.
Okay, great. Thank you. Adam? Eleanor?
Thank you. First I just want to give you a big shout out for the science scores. I don't think I've ever, never had such a happy science test score moment before. So that's really, really wonderful to see. I wanted to just get a clarification about the elementary school reporting, because I know I've been told in the past that when the state reports out data by elementary schools, they do it based on where the students are zoned for, not necessarily the schools they attend. And so in the data that we've seen today, is that the schools that the kids actually go to?
Okay, so theoretically, yes. But I'm going to go back to Mike's conversation we had about Power School and how things are coded and our data and attendance and things like that. So yes, but I think we can do better cleanup about how kids are aligned, because we're also because we have like a magnet school sort of within our district. So that really complicates things for the state, and like you create like a super school in a sense. So our demographics have to balance, and that is a whole other conversation here. But theoretically, yes, but I can't say with 100% accuracy because of the data that we keep in Power School needs to be cleaned up. So we're doing the Power School audit, and I'm hoping that that can help with a lot of things moving forward. That's a great question.
Thank you. And then one more. So for those of us who sort of follow like education news, there's been a lot about how, math scores are seeing recovery after COVID, but reading scores are kind of in a slump nationally, right? And so I was just wondering how you think of, we can do things in the district with curriculum, but do you see us sort of facing I don't know, general national or cultural headwinds that are a challenge in ELA?
I mean, I think what we're experiencing with adults and with children is stamina, the ability to sit with something for a long period of time. And so, as we've talked about, Eleanor, it's finding that balance of exposing kids to grade level standards, but also reading for pleasure. So do you want to say something, Sarah? Because she's very passionate about this topic. Do you want to just come to the mic?
I won't take up too much of your time, but it's an excellent question to ask. And I would beg you to shift your attention to prep for November, which I'm very happy to come and chat with you at. Shift your attention to Mississippi. Out of all of the states in the nation, Mississippi has had the best ELA recovery out of any of the 50 states, which I know sounds surprising, but they were the first early adopters of the structured literacy work we are doing here in Princeton and the knowledge building alignment work when you get to the deeper levels and lenses of comprehension and looking at those analytical vocab, all of those best practices. Mississippi was the first to do it, and they have had the highest recovery rate in their ELA scores. So really embracing that best practice, which is exactly what we are doing here in Princeton. They were early adopters of it, and their ELA scores are significantly higher than the rest of the country.
People up. They didn't do any social promotion. Less than us of those.
Yeah. So if you look at all of the early adopters for more of those structured literacy components, science of reading standards, and states that went as early adopters, they have a better trajectory trend upward than states that are lagging behind. So specifically, Mississippi is a good one to study. We can talk more about it when I come in November, but it's a great question.
Thank you. What was your question, Adam?
Oh, just quick one. Again, thank you. To me, my metaphor is like you took a ship, you stopped it, and then kind of slowly turning it around and everything. And I do appreciate it in the Mississippi thing. And the second, the culture, teacher buy-in, continuing to evolve, and curriculum disconnect, or
Yeah, I mean, I think most people are, willing and able. Change is hard, right? As we know, there's a lot of change theory, and you have to go with those early adopters. And kind of using your, metaphor, I always think about like there's sardines, like, and when there's a school of fish, for them to change direction, one has to start it, right? And then they start swimming against the rest of the group, and then more come, and then more come, and then more come. So there's always like 20% like super like early adopters, and I think we're seeing that in our K-5 ELA program. And then we have the people who are like, okay, like I'm giving it a shot. I see what you guys are doing here. I'm getting the vision. Then you have those who are like, oh, this is really hard. Like I need help. And then there's some who are like, nope, I like it the old way. I always want it. Like that's just human nature. So what we also know is that with success comes more buy-in. So we're hoping as they start seeing students produce work, assessments, things like that, and engagement, that we get more buy-in. But to answer your question in a short way, like TC is no longer recognized in the state of New Jersey as a high quality instructional program. So even if they didn't disband, like we wouldn't be able to support the work that we do here and align it with state standards. So we had to do something. And we really, at Sarah, led a pilot effort to look at due diligence of looking at several programs. And we're just trying to find the balance of, we don't want to go back to basal readers where you just read and then you regurgitate. With arts and letters, they're looking at rich text. They're doing close reading. They're writing about their reading. And so is any program perfect? No. And we're not going to say that we want teachers to pledge alignment with anything, because we also want them to meet the needs of the kids in their classroom. However, we also need to know that we can guarantee that kids were exposed to things. And right with TC, it was too variable.
So, I think there's local districts that have not moved on. Like
no, West Windsor still has it technically, and they're piloting arts and letters in CKLA.
And Montgomery,
yes,
as well as
and Hopewell, where my daughter goes,
yes,
has a version of it, and it's frustrating.
Yeah. So you're being too modest.
Yeah.
Like you took on a big.
Yes, we are leaders in this,
yes.
and we are leaders in this because of Sarah Moore. And so when we are leaders, sometimes we have to take a jump, right? And we have to move forward and say, we're going to start that. We're the sardines, right? We are going forward, and sometimes that we take more slings and arrows because of that, but we know it has to be done.
Right. And if we do believe in the all students, all standards, then we need to run away from Teachers College.
What I will say, I was talking with a special education teacher, and she said, for the first time since I've taught here, and it's 21 years, is that everyone is working toward the same goal. Our ESL students are exposed to this program. Her LLD students are exposed to the program. Resource room kids are exposed to it. Right. So we're all hitting these things in maybe different ways and having different accommodations or modifications to get there. But all the kids have that exposure, and that's never been the case.
Great work.
Yep. Thank you. Quick question.
In regards to your student buy-in for 11th grade, when they're like being introduced to all the APs and all the SATs and everything, what other metrics are you using to
beef up the science program if you consistently run across that timing issue.
Oh, that's great. So I actually got to observe Jackie do a micro department meeting last week. It was at the middle school, but I know she does this in the bio, chem, physics content areas as well. And saying, you know, this isn't a standardized assessment. There's some really good work here, though. Like just because the state mandates assess, there actually can be value in some of these questions and how we're asking kids and transferring of skills. So how do we create internal common assessments across bio, physics, chem, forensics, whatever class we're talking about, so that we are asking those rich, deep questions and tasks that model what's on that assessment. So how that's part of that program review work of like, how can we make that more of a common practice? And Jackie's starting that work this year so that we have metrics that tell us how kids are doing. So it's a really good question.
Right. Anyone else? Okay. No,
All
thank
right.
you.
Thank you, everyone. And thank you guys.
Did you have anything else, Dr. LaSousa?
Yes, I do.
Oh, I'm glad I asked.
Yeah, well, I do want to just underscore how much hard work goes into what we just saw. And I think of the many outstanding qualities of Dr. Tu, one of them is that there's like a genuine absence of defensiveness. And she has a willingness to look at what we're doing and what her team does and really think about how we can do better and acknowledge places where maybe we're not doing as well as we want to do. And it's a quality I think that flows through her team. And it's something that I think is really a tremendous asset to this district. So I just want to thank her and her folks for the work they're putting in. Thank you. And the final item under my report, we need to move to someplace on the agenda for an action item, but we weren't 100% sure where to put it because we're new.
So we're good.
Okay, it's part of consent. And that is just that we introduced a draft calendar at the last meeting. We've touched it up and refined it a bit, adding a final professional development day in the fall. Making sure that the dates were all accurate in terms of holidays and such. And it is pretty much good to go. We think it starts the school year on August 31st for students, ends in June on the 16th, I believe. There are only 2 snow days built in, but that was just because that's what we're doing this year. If we want to build in another snow day, we can. But I kind of leave that to you and follow your lead as folks who are familiar with the calendar here. And the feedback, at least from the teaching staff, is positive about the August 31st start date, as opposed to waiting until September 1st and not having a 4-day weekend on the Labor Day weekend. So we think that the calendar is ready to go and that it will give people, notice about the schedule of events for next year, including notation for both high school graduation and middle school promotion.
Well, that is excellent. And I say we roll the dice, and it's definitely going to be a very snowy winter. So,
hopefully not.
Yeah. So let's see what happens. But I think this is great, and I appreciate your taking the feedback and moving some things around. So we start August 31st, and we end on June 16th. Okay, that's pretty good.
And that's it for me.
All right. Okay, moving on now to our student board member report. We have Ash and Annie. Ani.
Yeah.
Sorry about that.
No, it's okay. Okay, so first is kind of just more of a situation where we've noticed a couple things, not really a automatic kind of solution that we have, but just something that we've noticed for over time. We've heard within our peers a lot of conversation about just talking to counselors. Obviously, during this time, we're applying to colleges as seniors, and also I know the juniors go through Mrs. Shaw with all of the prep for that, and so it's just a lot of kind of these processes that are long and ongoing, kind of stressful, and so there's a lot of trying to communicate within a specific amount of time, and just kind of all that, and so we've seen a lot of it's hard because obviously Mrs. Shaw is so busy with all of these amazing resources that we have. All of these students are using them and really benefiting from them. But also it's just hard to get in touch with her. And so then we reach out to our counselors instead. And a lot of the times, obviously, the counselors also have all of the grades in the high school. So it's obviously not just the juniors and the seniors going through this. So they have to deal with all of the scheduling and everything else that goes on and all of the small, kind of more personal issues. And so, it's just kind of, we've noticed that it's hard to come in contact with them. And sometimes they don't have the necessarily correct information that we need specifically. But yeah, that's really it. For counselors, just a lot of like it would be more helpful to get in touch and all have kind of one consensus, just general idea of what's kind of like correct, I would say.
Yeah. And so on a more personal note, that's something me and Ani are trying to work on is like we said last time, one of our goals for this year is to make students more aware of what the board is doing and more involved like civically in these kinds of processes. And so 2 things we're trying to implement are, number 1, posts on student council has a popular like Instagram, like social media kind of page that helps spread a lot of information about dances or Stuco events to students. So something we want to do is have like bi-weekly, monthly posts after board meetings, maybe like a recap on something like that, because students are already on these sites. And while obviously there are board recaps that are being made, most students aren't seeking them out. And so to get them involved and to get them aware, we want to put these resources on sites that they're already on and in ways that they're already engaging with similar posts. So like I said, we want to do some sort of recap like that, what the school board does, who's on it, those kinds of things. And then also something we want to do is have a regular like Google form /survey open, or like a submission box where people can write their email and issues they're having, because while a lot of good things are being brought up in student council and people are asking me and Ani questions or bringing up issues to us, there's always things that go unnoticed. And in order to make sure we're representing the entire student body, we just want to have give all the students a chance to be able to reach out to us in that way. So we're working with student council right now to implement something like that. But yeah, so but there's been a lot of student involvement with Stuco this year, which I know was one of the goals of Nikolai and Maya last year. And they were pretty successful with it. So we're hoping to keep that up this year and then take that energy into the school board as well.
So thank you. I think the open Google form is great, and we would love to hear what's on the students' mind. So feel free to bring that to us. And Ani, have you spoken to Ms. Burge about what you shared with us about the counselors?
As of right now, we haven't, but that is a really good idea.
Yeah.
We will do that.
Okay.
Yeah, that's something where there's been a lot of talk. It's mostly obviously among seniors bringing that up. And especially as we're approaching the early action deadlines, it's creating a lot of stress, but we are working on bringing it up to, I've talked to Ms. Lee about it, but we're also working on organizing our thoughts more coherently to bring up to Ms. Birch.
Yeah, it doesn't have to be too coherent. She can follow along, but because it's October 28th. So see if you can get into Ms. Burge tomorrow to share your concerns.
Yes.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Sure.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
I will mention though, part of the reason for beginning the school year in August is exactly what you just spoke about, and the crunch that there is for seniors in particular to get college applications out. The first district that I knew of really that pushed forward the start of school was the district my own children attended. And that's a high school only district, West Morris Regional. They went to Mendham High School. They graduated last year. Their graduation was on June 6th. And their first day of school, if I remember right, was August 22nd. And the primary reason that district explained their change was the mental health of the students, particularly seniors, and how having more time between the first day of school and Halloween, basically, in terms of college applications, would be helpful. And they, from what I recall, they surveyed students to find out if, in fact, the beginning of the year was less stressful for them, and the answer was yes. And the feedback was overwhelmingly positive from students. Again, as a high school only district, but I just wanted to note that because it connects to the calendar and why we don't want to wait all the way until September 7th or 8th to start school.
It's fantastic. Yeah. Moving on now to public comment. Is there anyone here who would like to speak to us? Because we have people who emailed us who want to speak to us. But there's no one here right now. Okay. Mr. Harris, please. I believe we have 2 emails. Yes.
Okay.
Good night.
Good night.
Aw.
All right, here's our first email. My name is Dr. Abigail Kalmbach, London, and I live on Orchard Circle. I wish I could be speaking to you virtually, but appreciate Mr. Harris reading my statement. Hello, and thank you to everyone here tonight working in the best interest of all of our children. I speak as a parent and scientific expert in neurodevelopment. I have a 4th grader and kindergartner at CP and am a neuroscientist at Princeton. I address the BOE, not the World Language Supervisors or CP administrators, because they have declined my attempts to meet or advised me to consider transferring my child to another school. CP is an elementary school with kind staff and exceptional children who spend 40% of the day in suboptimal immersion that cannot be called dual language. Outside of dedicated Spanish instruction, there is no immersion. Dual language immersion cannot happen when few adults in the building are bilingual and English dominates the hallways. Open houses and school forums are entirely in English. Even small informal greetings in Espanol, simple but powerful for learning, are lacking at CP. Additionally, all specials are in English, missed opportunities for immersion. Children learn language through action, gym, art, and music could reinforce Spanish naturally. Bilingual teachers and staff should be preferentially hired for any openings. DLI accreditation would be a bonus, but not essential if not teaching a DLI subject. Simple ways to increase immersion immediately. Immersion in the classroom needs to be live. English songs are learned directly from the teacher, but Spanish songs are learned from YouTube videos, and it is unlicensed, so our kids also watch YouTube ads at school, which should not be allowed. Immersion support at home needs to be supported. In kindergarten, we get printouts of how to support English language acquisition, but not Spanish language. Spanish handouts are of new mathematical concepts and with nothing on how to support Spanish language acquisition. Here, the Spanish videos that the kids watch at school would be helpful. Importantly, Spanish language assistance should be available just as English language assistance is. Educational change may be a marathon, but for our children, we need to sprint toward immediate improvements. I ask that district administration meet with a small group of CP parents invested in strengthening immersion. A similar meeting was granted to parents opposing diversity and equity initiatives. Here we seek a constructive exchange of ideas. From psychology and neuroscience, we know immersion works because 5 to 8-year-olds' brains are in the critical period of language acquisition. Let's provide stronger immersion so their plastic brains can do what they evolved to do, learn. Thank you for your time and your dedication to providing the best education to our students. The second one is from April Alliston. Dear PPS members, I am writing briefly in advance of tonight's board meeting to add my voice to the strong support among families at Riverside Elementary for a bell-to-bell policy regarding cell phones. I'm glad to understand that this matter is at last being addressed in New Jersey. I'm keenly aware of the threats to minors of excessive, unsupervised, and unregulated internet access beyond even its well-known potential for magnification of bullying, trolling, and doxing, and detriments to attention, sleep, self-esteem, and socialization. As a parent of 2 young children at Riverside, I am deeply concerned yet glad to know that many other parents share my concerns. Please read this message at the meeting if possible. Many thanks to your attention to this important matter, April.
Thank you, Mr. Harris.
You're welcome.
You're a gem. Thank you for reading those. Is there anyone else here? Public comment? No? All right. So we're gonna have another shot for public comment. But moving on now. Yeah. So we're moving on now. So is harassment, intimidation, bullying. We have HIB acceptance and HIB affirmation. Moving on to policies. J1 first reading. Wait, did I miss something? No. Yeah. Where is that? Oh, I'm going to move that. Sorry. I'm going to move the board committee reports.
My apologies.
Oh, no, that's my problem. Because usually I reflect on what people said. So board committee, let's start with, I guess you're going to do operations.
I'm going to do operations and luncheon.
And luncheon planning. And it's 9:30. And I get a bonus if we're out at 10. Just FYI.
Well, you'll
Yeah.
like long-term planning. Operations is a little more, is a little lengthier.
Right, no bonus
So we
then.
met on October 20th at 1 p.m. for long-term planning in closed session. We've received an update on our upcoming referendum and potential issues with the timeline for the bidding and discussed plans for 5-year plans in multiple areas. Our next meeting is 11/11 at 1 p.m., which will also be in closed session.
That was a fantastic report.
All right, this one is, you're not going to like it. Operations. We met October 24th at 1 p.m. We began, as we usually do, receiving a report on the outstanding referendum projects, all of which are very close to being closed out. We then, as we always do, discussed our sustainability initiatives. Jenny Ludmer reported on the successful deployment of our 2 electric buses with Mr. Harris. And then she's going to begin working on a district tree planting plan with the district. And she also updated us on the continuing energy saving competition among our schools, which has been very successful. We then received an update on potential building management system vendors and progress on signs for the schools that are being done in-house. So that was exciting. And one school is nearing completion. So that was exciting to hear.
Which school?
Johnson Park.
Okay. Ooh, will we have pictures? Excellent. Thank you.
Next time.
I want to see the changes.
So then in finances, we got updates on our referendum balances, on some construction payouts that are on the agenda today, plus some contracts for district work approval. This were also on the agenda today. And in transportation, we discussed a new transportation software that the administration will be recommending shortly. In technology, we received updates on communication upgrades that they're working on so that we have good communication between our schools, the ongoing Google audit that they're doing, and discussion of the long-term fiber upgrades that will be probably implemented this summer with the money from past referendums. And lastly, in food services, we received an update how we will deal with outstanding balances in the future, which will be implemented in our next budget. Our next meeting will be on November 13th at 1 p.m. and the first part is open to the public.
Thank you.
Susan, just one change. That was PA upgrades. Fiber, we were talking about long-term planning.
Yeah.
Yep. Okay.
That was very Thank you. It was. I just want to say that October 16th, we were at the planning board and our third project, which was CP, was approved at a special meeting. And so we want to thank the town council and the planning board for all their assistance in moving those projects along, because I might have mentioned I'm worried about tariffs. I think everyone else is too. So we're excited that so far we're on the timeline. So just wanted to add that. Moving on now to personnel with Debbie. I know this will be brief.
Yes. The Personnel Committee met on Monday, October 20th. We discussed some updated job descriptions for technology department that are on the agenda tonight. We discussed the success of the summer counseling hours for PHS and PMS, and then we discussed many other personnel issues. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Debbie.
And let me just continue. So, I'm sorry.
No, I love this.
The Equity Committee will be meeting. I'm just going to tell you, we'll be meeting on December 4th, 1 to 2:30 in person.
Here.
Yep.
December 4th, 1 to 2:30
Right
in
here.
person.
I'll send you
And
a
that'll be
note.
on the district calendar.
Yes.
Yes, great. Oh, I love this. So we're moving on to Eleanor. She's going to do policy and student achievement.
All
In
right.
whatever order you would like.
I'll do policy first.
Okay.
The policy committee met on October 7th at 9. We discussed several policies that are on the agenda today. Nothing spectacular, just remaining in compliance with changes in New Jersey legal code. But following the last board meeting's discussion, we also talked about possible approaches to smartphones in schools. Those conversations are in early stages. The policies will next meet on December 4th at 9 o'clock. So you can do policy at 9 and then equity at 1, except the policy is closed.
Oh, so yeah, never mind. So never
You
mind.
have your morning free. SAC met on Friday, October 24th at 9, and we had 2 items on our open agenda. The first was an update on arts and letters, the new K-5 ELA curriculum. And Kim Chu shared some information about how the district is working to support the rollout because with any new curriculum, mastering the pacing takes time and training. In addition, the district is looking to make sure that there's still time for choice reading and choice writing in the day, because those are important too. And I just wanted to say that on the board, we're very appreciative of how much work this is for the elementary teachers to be doing, to be adopting this new curriculum. We also took a quick look at the district list of field trip sites, which is on the agenda for approval tonight. And then we went into closed session. And our next meeting is Thursday, November 13th at 9 o'clock.
All right,
And that one you can come to on Zoom.
Me too? I can come?
Especially you.
Oh, thank you. All right, that's great. Thank you. Moving on now. So I'm going to go back now. Policies J1, first reading, J2, second reading, as Eleanor said, nothing to write home about. Then we're moving on to personnel, L1 retirements. I just want to take a second. We have 5 retirements, 3 I would like to speak about, totaling 73 years in the district. First one is Nancy Abascal, who is a special ed teacher at the middle school. I don't think there's a harder job than being a special education teacher at a middle school, except maybe being the principal at a middle school or an assistant principal at the middle school. But Nancy Abascal is a gem. She's been in the district for 20 years. She got my family through some tough times, and I wish Nancy all the best. And I'm so fortunate that my son had her as a teacher. All right, moving on now. Melissa O'Donnell is retiring. Shockwaves went out through Littlebrook. She's been in the district 28 years, I believe right out of college. And she's an extraordinary kindergarten teacher. My daughter was lucky enough to have her, and she will be missed, but she's a triumphant teacher, and she hopes to do, I think, teaching with some fun in it. So we wish Melissa the best of luck. And then finally, Renee Sporn, another special education teacher, and she's been with the district 25 years. In addition, Renee has been the co-president of the teachers union for about 9 years. And if you've had the chance to meet Renee, you'll know what a pleasure it is. For the story I'll say about Renee, well, 2 stories. So back in the mid 2018s, whatever you call them, nuts, are those not? No, they're nuts. 2018s, the 20 teens. So the board's relationship with the teachers union wasn't as collegial as it is now. And we were sitting down in this room to do negotiations, and we had the tables like catty corner, and the superintendent and I were here, and Renee was here with her co-presidents, and they were very upset about something. But Renee wanted to multitask. So she took her purse, which was like this big, and she dumped it on the table. And as she's telling us all these things, she was sorting her stuff and, like, throwing away things that needed to be thrown away. And I was so amazed that she was doing 2 things at once. Anyway, it's not like walking gum, and she really was putting a lot of thought into both things. So so then when my son had her when he was a senior, I was not sure how that was going to go, because Renee is a really forceful personality. And, my son was like a 17-year-old boy, and, she was going to nag him, and he didn't like being nagged. But apparently that only applied to me. And he loved being nagged by Miss Bourne. He actually called her his mother at school. And, Jack has language-based learning disabilities, and, she really worked with him a lot to have a better, he also has dysgraphia. So that's like a disability where you sometimes have trouble putting into writing what's in your mind. And, she did yeoman's work, and she'll be missed. So we're saying goodbye to some very special educators tonight, and they're what make Princeton special. And Angela, you have your hands full to make sure that those are big shoes to fill, and I'm sure you can. And we wish Renee all the best for a long and healthy retirement. Debbie.
Yes, I would also like to make a shout out to Mrs. O'Donnell. Max had you, and I appreciate you spending that first year with him, molding him, getting him ready. And it was a funny class because there were a lot of kids in that class born in August. And so they were really young. They were very, very, it was a young class. And I remember they kept saying, well, you know, he has to get to his age or grow up to his age. And I kept saying, well, when does this happen? Like, so there were a lot of young, just turning 5 that were in that class. But I thank you a lot for staying with them all.
Okay, well, that's sad. It was such a good meeting so far. All right, L2 resignations, L3 termination, L4 appointment, L5 personnel item, L6 leave of absence, L7 substitute student placements, L8 6th period compensation, L9 curriculum and instruction, L10 student services, L11 the job description Debbie mentioned, and L12 athletic appointments. Moving on now to curriculum and instruction, we have New Jersey Quality CUSAC review, 3-year program, preschool program plan, and annual update and enrollment projection, SEL consultant services, CW clinician LLC, and annual field trip approval that Eleanor mentioned. Moving on now, student services, special education, educational placements of students, 25-26, and a grant application, fiscal year 26 federal funds for IDA. Moving on now to the business agenda, we have 1, an addendum to the transportation contract, 02, the budget calendar, 03, comprehensive maintenance plan, 04, construction payments, 05, contracts, 06, cooperative purchasing agreement, Camden ESC, what number am I? I forget. 07, cooperative purchasing agreements, reapprovals. 08, financial reports is a action item. Can I get a motion? Mara, second. Chris?
Dr. Kendall?
Abstain.
Adam Bierman?
Yes.
Debbie Bronfeld?
Yes.
Mark Franceschi?
Yes.
Eleanor Hubbard?
Yes.
Susan Cantor?
Yes.
Christopher Santarpia?
Yes.
Catherine Lara?
Yes.
Motion carries.
Thank you, Mr. Harris. And I love how you're moving things around because it keeps me on my toes. So keep doing that. We have 09, fire and evacuation drills. 10 fundraisers, and this is for a carryover from last month, and we're just confirming that this is a in-district procedure, and it does not affect people who don't work for the district, including PTOs. So thank you for updating that. Then we have 011, a gift acceptance, which is so touching. The Trust Estate of Norman Sandy A. Shuley III designated a specific distribution of $25,000 to Princeton High School. And it's specific to support the budget for the hockey and golf teams. And so we want to thank the estate of Norman Shuley III, and we're very grateful to accept this donation on behalf of the district. And then we have 012, items for disposal or sale. Then we have 013, registration travel agenda. Moving on, we have our next public comment, and we outlasted the public tonight. It's okay. So we don't have anyone to take us up on our second public comment. And so now we're going to move on to the consent vote. Can I get a motion? Mara, second. Eleanor.
Starting with Daphne Kendall?
Yes.
Adam Bierman?
Yes.
Debbie Bronfeld?
Yes.
Mark Franceschi?
Yes.
Eleanor Hubbard?
Yes.
Susan Cantor?
Yes.
Christopher Santarpia?
Yes.
Catherine Lara?
Yes.
Motion carries.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Harris. This really was a fantastic meeting tonight. And I love that it was so kid focused. Thank you, Mrs. Baldeo, for that presentation. That was awesome. And, you know, just reminds us, and I'm going to say it again, all students, all standards, until somebody makes a t-shirt. Our next meeting is November 18th. Happy Halloween, everyone. Be safe. And can I get a motion to adjourn? All in favor?
Aye.
Great. We're adjourned. Thank you.